Hey guys, welcome to MTG Gaming Bod. I'm Matt, and today I'm going to do a quick run through of the budget deck that I'm doing, Reyav. This is going to be for the Jake and Joel are Magic. There's like a February league that we're in. It's going to be, everybody's deck is based off $100. All the commanders were completely randomized and then given to each person. So you could have a partner, you could have a really badass commander, you could have a whatever commander. Mine was kind of okay. But surprisingly enough, I actually had a lot of fun building the deck. Well, before we get into it, I do have to ask, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us tremendously. You don't even know. So I'm going to kind of do a quick run through of the deck. This is more of a deck tech that I already went through. I'm going to have probably like an hour and a half video or so that goes through the deck like painlessly or painfully, or maybe painfully. I don't know. It basically goes through and kind of gives you an inside look of what I picked each card. So if you're interested in that kind of video, make sure to keep an eye on that on the channel. This is going to come out before this video, so if you're watching this, you might have already watched the other one. Anyways, so Reyav, pretty simple. It's going to be a Tron deck. So Tron meaning like you equip one big creature or one creature with a bunch of stuff. It gets real massive and like first strike and trample and double strike and lifelink and vigilance and all the effects. Typically, it'll just be crazy. Like the Tron cards are just nuts. Whatever you Tron up, he becomes monstrous. And then Reyav gives whatever we Tron up double strike. So, get into it. First card, Akiri, Fearless Voyager. This card is insane. Whenever you attack a player with one or more equipped creatures, draw a card. So this is at bare minimum. The moment you attack, you're drawing a card. Then you can unattach it and equipment by paying a white. It taps the creature and is indestructible, but it's still attacking. So you can still attack, and who cares if it's tapped? It's already tapped and attacking. So that doesn't matter. And you're able to still draw the card. And if you're attacking multiple players and they are equipped, you actually will draw multiple cards. So pretty darn good. 3 mana for a 3/3. Pretty solid effect. Drawing cards is important. Arden, Intrepid Archaeologist. 3 mana 3/3. Beginning of your turn, you can attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. Pretty strong. You're able to move around equipments for free. And most of the time, some of the equipment costs are expensive, so this gives you some flexibility and some free casting, or free equipping. Also, there is one of the enchantments later on that locks down somebody's creature. Enchanted munitions or something like that. Basically, a Darksteel mutation. It makes it a 0/1, has no abilities. So for this, if there's a bigger threat than what you used it on prior to, you can actually move that to something else. So pretty important, pretty cool. Armored Skyhunter. This is basically just a flyer that as it enters the battlefield, you get an aura or equipment. Comes into the battlefield if it's in the top 6. Equips or attaches as it comes in. And the rest go on the bottom in a random order. Pretty strong. 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer. Not bad. Breastsquire. This is basically just being able to equip things for free. And at instant speed. So this could be pretty strong. Bronze Guardian. Pretty strong. 5 mana for a X5 or star 5. This is probably going to be at the bare minimum a 5/5, double striking, ward 2. Artifacts you control have ward 2. I don't foresee him being any weaker than that. I did think about cutting it, but the ward makes it very difficult to handle all of your equipment. Sometimes they might only have a removal for 1 and 2 extra mana is kind of whatever, but it does throw off mana curves and makes things more expensive, so it stayed. It could go. Bruno Battlehammer. He's pretty strong. I kind of wish he was the commander, but I didn't get him. It was only Commander Legends for the commanders. But 4 mana for a 5/3, and each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. That's already insane. He doesn't have to be attacking, and you could pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost for the first ability you activate each turn. Very strong. He's insane. Champion of Flame, 2 mana 1/1. He has trample and 2/2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. So he's a good body for equipment and attachments. Danitha, Capuchin Paragon. Close enough, right? 3 mana for 2/2. first strike, vigilance, lifelink, or an equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Pretty strong. It's a good body anyways. And then also making your stuff cheaper is good. As for Sentinel, was able to fit him in a budget deck. $25, it's the fourth of the budget, but it's such a strong card, and I didn't really have to cut out that much. I mean, I guess if you look through the video, I did go through the reasonings and everything for every card. There is some merit to like maybe cutting this and then allowing some of the stronger cards that I said were too much. But this is such a strong card that I just kind of figured he's so good. He's also not bad for having a bunch of equipment to pump his power up so that you draw more cards. So pretty good. Fathom Fleet Swordjack. This kind's pretty good. 4 mana for a 4/3. Whenever he attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of artifacts you control to target player or planeswalker. That's pretty strong considering it has Encore. But it is a multiplayer format, obviously. And paying 6 mana to almost guarantee get damage in anywhere as long as you're able to attack with them. It's kind of just like it reminds me of Mer Battlesphere, pretty strong creature, and he doesn't do too bad himself, just being a 4 mana 4/3 for the double striking ability from the commander. As long as he's equipped, he gets double strike. So having a higher power is better. So not a bad equipment, or not a bad creature at all. Fervent Champion, 1 mana for a 1/1 first strike haster. It gives a knight +1 when it attacks. There's not that many knights, so that's not that big a deal, but equip abilities you activate that target Fervent Champion costs 3 less to activate. That's the majority of all of the equipment. So it's a decent card to draw late game when, say, a board wipe happens or it's a top deck of some sort. You're typically going to be able to play him and just equip everything to him and then swing. And that's pretty strong to have, so it's a pretty good card. Goblin Cavalier, 1 mana, 1/1, has trample already, which is solid, and gives gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it, and it's going to have double strike as long as it's equipped and you have your commander out. The commander's only 2 mana, so the majority of the time your commander's going to be out. I can't imagine it won't be out pretty often. And they're going to use a lot of the removals on the things you're equipping. They probably won't be removing Reyav very often, I feel. Helios Pilgrim, 3 mana, 1/2. This just tutors for an aura when it enters the battlefield. Not that amazing, but it does allow you to get certain specific things if you need. So tutoring is always solid. This is a good card. Kazuls Toll Collector. This one is pretty insane as well. 3 mana for a 3/2. And just attach target equipment you control to Kazul Toll Collector only as a sorcery. Still pretty strong. There's a lot of equipment that you can attach to this guy and he just becomes a monster for basically free. Pretty nuts. I say basically free. It is free. It just has a sorcery, which equipping is a sorcery anyway, so pretty good. Cold Forge Master. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. So it kind of gives you some staying power from board wipes. If this is on the field and you have a bunch of things equipped, it would go away. It would die, but you would get some of those creatures back. This could be cut because in a Tron deck, you're most likely going to be equipping one thing and then swinging with that one thing. But I kept it in, but I could see some merit of moving it out for a different card. And I might. We'll see. Ozgear, Lunar Marshall. He is insane. Kind of. Again, some similar situation where if you're going a Tron route, I guess your other creatures, it doesn't really matter. Well, I guess, okay, so it still matters because basically it gives all of your creatures whatever the abilities that each of them have. If they have first strike, flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, all of those on the card, it'll spread those to every creature you have. So it kind of makes, if you have like multiple creatures, it makes them pretty strong. You know, like, I don't think I have anything that gives indestructible, but I do have something that gives flying. I do have something that gives death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, lifelink, trample, and vigilance. So that's a decent number of things. I could see him being removed as well. If you're making more of a Tron thing, you're trying to just pump one thing, one real big thing. So I can see that this guy not being that amazing, but it also allows you to equip blockers, and then they'll still get whatever the equipment gives to that creature to whatever your Tron thing is. So they'll still share. Still strong. Also, I have a creature in here that gives lifelink, the one previously. So that would share it to whatever you're Tronning, and that's important. So, yeah, pretty good card. Ozgear the Reconstructor, he's pretty strong because Double Strike is strong, obviously. So if you're swinging with one of your creatures, you can actually sack like some artifact lands or some equipment that you're not using or whatever, and give that creature 2-0, and because it has Double Strike, that's 4 power per thing you sack. There's a good chance you could do some massive damage and maybe game-ending damage. And not only that, those things that you sack, you can reanimate and duplicate equipment, which is also pretty strong. Like, I play an Ozgear deck, and it is a nutty deck. It's probably one of the most strongest, most insane, powerful decks as a precon deck that I've ever played. It's absolutely nuts. One of the best pre-constructed decks I think I've ever played, for sure. Pure Steel Paladin was able to fit him in. He's insane. Whenever equipment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. And if you have 3 things, all of your equipment equipped for free. He's a 2-mana 2/2 human knight. He's nuts. So only $9, not bad. Relicseeker. This is basically just a 2/2 human soldier that tutors whenever it does damage to a player. I think it should be pretty easy to do. In a Tron deck, you're typically going to have either flying or trample or double strike where they don't want to block. So the moment it hits and does not combat damage to a player, you get the tutor for something to your hand. Pretty strong, but not amazing. It could be removed for something else, something better. Schramm, Senior Edificer, 2 mana for a 2/2 that whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle, draw a card. Pretty strong. Card draw is always good. Stonehero Giant is insane. 5 mana for a 4/4 Vigilance. Tap 2 mana, 1 white and 1 colorless. Search your library for an equipment card, put it onto the battlefield, and attach it to a creature you control at instant speed. At instant speed. This guy is insane. So he's nutty. We got Sun Titan. This is just some late game stay power. Get back some of your insane things that might have got board wiped away or removed or destroyed. This just kind of is in there to come back, bring them back. Not a bad body to, Tron up as well. 6 mana, 6/6 Vigilance. Could be pretty solid. Togo, Goblin Weaponsmith, 3 mana for a 2/2. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a colorless equipment artifact token named Rock. With equipped creature has tap 1 colorless, sacrifice the rock. This creature deals 2 damage to any target, and then it has an equip cost of 1. This is pretty nutty because if you have creatures like Champion of the Flame or anything else that gives pumps per artifact, this is just a rock, but it's going to give them that 2/0 or that 2/2 because it's each thing that's equipped to them. It doesn't matter if they have any pluses. Plus, then you can sacrifice the rock, and basically, if the creature has Vigilance, you can just like fling it, deal damage with the rocks. And if you have the Pure Steel Paladin, there's some funky, weird things where you could probably like equip a rock to something, tap it, fling the rock at them, and then like kind of do that to all your creatures after you attack with the Vigilance and whatnot. So I think this is going to be a pretty cool little tech that I found. Valduk, Keeper of Flame, 3 mana for a 3/2. At the beginning of combat on each of your turns, or on your turn, for each aura and equipment attached to Valduk, Keeper of Flame, create a 3/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Then you exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. This is a pretty strong thing because if you're playing a Tron deck, you're going to be equipping and you're going to putting auras on stuff. So why not get a bunch of free 3/1 elementals that have haste and trample? Pretty good. Oh, also, if Odric's on the field, this becomes insane because they're all going to have double strike and flying and lifelink and whatever else is on the battlefield from all your equipments or whatever. So Ball deck is going to be pretty cool. Venerable Warsinger is kind of like a mini Sun Titan. It's 3 mana for a 3/3 Vig Trampler, which is already solid. But whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature card with mana value X or less from the graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of damage Venerable Warsinger dealt to that player. If you're double striking, you get it twice. It's pretty nutty. Even at 3 mana 3/3, the majority of the deck is 3 mana or less, so you basically can get anything. Well, any creature. So, pretty strong. Because it's limited to only creatures, I could see it not being that insane, but if they remove like your your Pure Steel Paladin or your Esper Sentinel, those are going to be high targets. Getting those back will give you a lot of value. Wayleth, Soul of Steel, 3 mana, 2/2 Trampler. Whenever he attacks, draw a card for each aura and equipment attached to it. He's a good dollar card. Very happy to see that he was $1. He's insane. So very happy with that. Cosmetronic Wave, 4 mana. The sorcery. It deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control, so it doesn't kill any of your stuff, but it might kill a bunch of tokens or creatures, you know, little mana dorks or whatever. Also, creatures your opponents control can't block this turn. It makes everything you have unblockable. I think this card's a blowout card. This card's nuts. Open the Armory. This is a tutor for an aura or equipment card. Goes to your hand. Pretty solid. 2 mana tutor. Not bad. Reckless Crew. This is another cool little like tech thing that I think is going to be insane. It combos well with a lot of stuff. Reckless Crew. 4 mana sorcery. You create X, 2/1 Red Dwarf Berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of vehicles you control, plus the number of equipments you control. For each of those tokens, you may attach an equipment you control to it. Reckless Crew is pretty insane, considering you're going to be getting a ton of creatures based on the number of artifacts, equipments you control. And you're going to be having a lot of them. There's 19 in the deck, plus all the rocks. All the rocks count. And you get to equip all the stuff to them. I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty good tech, I think. It's late game. Could be one of those things that close out the game. And if one of your creatures have haste and you have Ozgear on the field, then when you go to combat, they'll all have haste. And they'll all have equipment on them or whatever. Pretty cool. Secret Rendezvous. This is an interesting card. A lot of people think it's bad. I don't know if it's good or bad yet. I guess we'll see. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards for 3 mana. In white, there's not a lot of card draw. I am playing red, so there is more available, but since it's such a budget deck, I think this is the best value. No discarding. I think you just pick the person that's having the least amount of luck, and you have them draw 3 cards. Maybe it's a way to get some political, like, hey, you're having a hard time. How about this? You know, make a deal with them or whatever. I don't know, but I want to test this card out, and this is the best format to do it because it's like a budget format. So this might be insane. I don't know. Draw 3 cards. I like it. Condemn. It's just removal. Pretty good. Helad's Intervention. I don't know how many artifacts or enchantments there's going to be, but I have one of these. Basically, the only destruction for artifacts or enchantments. It might be too light, but I don't know. I haven't really played any budget formats, so I don't know how many they're going to be. So, who knows? I got to have something, you know? It's instant speed. It's X. It'd be crazy. $4, so a little expensive, but not too bad. So, Master Warcraft. This card's pretty insane, I think. 4 mana, instant. Cast Master Warcraft only before attackers are declared. It can be on somebody else's turn. You choose which creatures attack this turn. You choose which creatures block this turn and how those creatures block. This can be insane. Absolutely insane. You control how your opponents attack and block each other. You could board wipe pretty easily. You can make them block horribly. And you can make the attackers attack horribly. And you can get rid of things that they would never attack with. It's just this. I think this card's a sleeper tech right here. I think this card's insane. It's 35 cents. It's instant speed. In a budget format, I think this card's nuts. Yeah, hell, I think in most decks, this card's insane. Resurgence and Response. It deals 5 damage for 2 to a target attacking or blocking creature. That's a pretty solid thing, but I think the biggest thing is going to be for 5 mana, creatures you control gain First Strike and Vigilance. Vigilance is pretty strong. After this main phase, there's an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. I think that's pretty strong considering you're building a Tron deck where you're going to have Vigilance anyways, but having multiple combat phases for 5 mana and they get guaranteed Vig, you're gonna probably have double strike, but I think it's mainly just for the double combat phase, and then also its removal. It's cheap, so I think it's a good card. Return to Dust is the only other artifact and then enchantment removal that I have. Pretty solid, instant speed. If you do it to your combat or your main phase, you can do 2 instead of 1. You're probably gonna want to do that, unless you really have to. So Jiri Shelter, this one is kind of a flex spot. I consider it basically a land. On the other side, it's a plains, so it does come into play tapped, but if you don't need it as a land, it gives you protection from the color of your choice. This also could help you get in and alpha strike somebody to give them protection against all their creatures, and then you swing in and, you know, do some damage. Pretty strong. Skywhaler Shot, this is pretty simple. 3 mana, instant, destroy target creature with power 3 or greater. Scry 1. Not too important, but you need some way to remove cards, and you don't really have access when you're building on a budget like this. Unbreakable Formation, this is just an instant indestructible thing. It allows your creature to not die if somebody tries to board wipe. It's a pretty blowout card. I don't know how often you're going to be holding up 3 mana, but I guess it depends on what your board state is. If you have like a bunch of stuff you need to protect, I would just hold up mana. Don't overcommit to the battlefield and just kind of ride out like some big creature or your board state. And if you don't want to do that, you can do this during your main phase instead, and each of your creatures get a 1/1 counter and they gain Vig. This isn't going to be like a bunch of creatures deck, although there is a decent number of creatures, but I think it's going to be more focused on Tron, where you're playing those creatures and protecting them, but if they die, they die, you know? So I don't know. This card's just a one-off. It kind of just like a gotcha card, I guess. But pretty good card nonetheless. And it's cheap, 79 cents. Valorous Stance. Protection for your creature, or destroy a creature that's large. Toughness 4 or greater. Instant speed. It's okay. Removal. It's cheap. Basilisk Collar, so now we're into the equipment area. This one's just Death Touch and Lifelink. 1 mana, so it's super cheap to cast. Equip is fairly cheap. And, you know, things like Audric, he'll copy both the Death Touch and the Lifelink, spread it to all your creatures. And even if your dudes are like 1/1s or 2/2s, which they'll most of the time be 3/3s or 4/4s, at the very minimum 2/2s, 3/3s, but if they're also Death Touch and Lifelink, not many people are going to block. So, and they're also going to be double striking and trampling, and it's going to be difficult is what I'm trying to say. Batterskull, got to keep Batterskull in. $9 card. I really like Batterskull. It's a great late game card. Being able to, some of the times getting this in for free, cheating it in, sometimes actually having to pay for it, which is fine. Being able to bounce it back to your hand and then recasting it to get that 4/4 body, it was insane in standard when it was in play, and it was still a really strong card now. So I think Batterskull will be good. The 4/4 Vig lifelink is strong, so I'm really happy with this one. Glad I got to fit it in. Bone Splitter is just a really good value. 1 mana, 1 equip, 2/0. With double strike, it's very strong. I mean, just with the commander alone, that makes him a 4/2 double striking when he attacks. So, pretty strong. Colossus Hammer is a sick card. It's just 1 mana to play, 8 to equip, but there's many different ways to equip it for free. So, a creature gets 10/10, which is pretty good. Loses flying, that's fine. There's ways to get plenty of ways to get double strike, or I'm sorry, plenty of ways to get double strike, yes, but plenty of ways to also get trample and whatnot. So, or unblockable, and I think Colossus Hammer is gonna be sick. Put that on a lifelink. Even if you're not killing somebody, you're still gaining like at least 10 life. Pretty cool. Explorer Scope is a card that I wanted to run because it's pretty strong. It gives you the ability to keep looking at the top of the deck and playing lands off the top. Top decking lands is pretty horrible, so this kind of prevents some of that. Forebear's Blade. This one's pretty simple. 3 mana for a 3 equip, 3/0 Vig trample. This is basically sort of Vengeance, but you don't get the haste or the first strike, which isn't that big a deal because your commander should be giving your things double strike. The haste is kind of annoying, but the thing that this has on it, to lose, but the thing that this has on it is whenever a equipped creature dies, you attach it to something else. So that's pretty cool. I could see there being an argument to run Sword of Vengeance instead of this, but I want to try this out because you're going to be Tronning, so typically all your stuff's going to be on one thing, and if you don't have to pay the 3 mana cost to equip it when something dies, that's pretty nice. That's how I see it. Gold Vein pick. This one's pretty solid. 2 mana to play. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and then whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token, and it's only a equip cost of 1. So treasure generation, pretty strong. Treasures are insane, so not bad at all. Haunted Cloak, 3 mana for a equip of 1. Equipped creature has Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. I think it's pretty strong. Could be swapped out for maybe something that gives pluses, but it's still strong. Hero's Blade's pretty nutty. 2 mana to play, and then whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield, it equips basically for free. You can also pay 4 to equip it, and it gives +3/+2. There's a decent number of legendary creatures, including your commander. So you could easily on turn 2 play Hero's Blade, turn 3 play your commander. It equips for free, and maybe you've got a haste thing that you can also equip to, and you're swinging for $1 billion. So pretty good. Oxidon Warhammer +3/0 trample lifelink for 3 mana to 3 equip. Pretty strong. Mask of Avacyn. This one's for the hexproof mainly. There's not a lot of protection in the deck. I probably should be running more hexproofy things, but there's not a lot of cheap ones, so this is kind of one of the only ones. But it is cheap to play and cheap cost and everything, so it's not bad. Masterwork of Ingenuity is a way to copy any of the equipments on the battlefield for 1. Why not? For 50 cents. This card is insane. I don't understand. But yeah, for 50 cents and for 1 colorless mana, it just comes to the battlefield as anything. That includes Better Skull. Why not? Absolutely nuts. But the card's sick. Maul of Skyclaves, 3 mana. Whenever it enters the battlefield, attach it to a target creature you control. So pretty darn good. It's 3 mana and it comes in automatically attached to something. And it gives that creature +2/2, flying, and for strike. And because it's an equipment, you can move it around. Little Cyst, this one's pretty strong. 3 mana, 2 equip. It's got Living Weapon. They give you the germ tokens. It's a 0/0, but equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. So you're running, I'm running 19 equipments and I think 10 enchantments. So this should be pretty strong for how cheap it is. Plate Armor is actually nutty. 3 mana, gives creature 3/3 and has ward 1. Pretty strong. It's okay, but the 3/3 is pretty strong. And then equipment is 3, but it costs 1 less for each other equipment you control. So this could easily equip for nothing. And just gives target 3/3 and ward 1. Pretty nutty. Rogue's Gloves, some card value. 2 mana to play, 2 mana to equip. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Obviously, you have a double strike. You draw 2 cards. Drawing cards wins games. Flying wins games. Double striking probably wins games. We'll see. Soul Ring for mana. Sunforger, 3 mana, 3 equip. It gives it 4/0, which is pretty strong considering, again, a lot of your things are going to have double strikes. So the only thing you really care about is that front end. So having 4 is pretty nuts. But the thing that this thing has is you can pay a red and a white, unattached Sunforger, search your library for a red or a white instant card with converted mana cost 4 or less, and you get to cast it for free, and then you shuffle your library. This allows you to get things that prevent board wipes. This allows you to get, for you, like you can get the tutor the board wipe, remove, I'll get to it here. Whisper Silk Cloak, I'll show you what you can get. Whisper Silk Cloak just gives Shroud and Unblockable, very strong. Can't be blocked, I think it's the same. I don't know when there's any time where it's different. One of the enchantments is All That Glitters, 2 mana. It gives 1/1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. And we're also running artifact lands and only 1 mana rock, but you know, it's still pretty good. It should be fine. Darksteel Mutation. This is a card I was talking about earlier. You can go tutor this up with the 1 tutor lady, and then you can move it around if you need to with the other guy. Pretty strong. There's some ability. Basically, this turns off a commander. This is pretty nuts. If you put this on a commander, they have no way to sacrifice this creature. It's indestructible. It loses everything it has. It's just an 0/1 nothing. It's pretty strong. Like, this is a pretty nutty card. So definitely be in there. Fighter class, whenever fighter class enters the battlefield, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand. So it's a 2-mana tutor for an equipment right off the bat. And then if you level it up to 2, equipped abilities you cast or you activate cost 2 less. That's pretty strong. And then at 5, whenever a creature you control attacks, up to 1 target creature blocks this turn if able. So if you need to remove some stuff specifically, you can attack and then make them block it. Forging the Tyrite, 3 mana, plus the Saga. 1 and 2 are just create a treasure token, which is actually pretty strong. This kind of, over the course of 3 turns, this becomes a 1 mana, basically just tutors for an equipment card. I was running Halvar at one point, God of Battle. He is really good. He's $10 though, and I just can't fit him in the deck. He's just too good. He's not good enough. I mean, he's okay. He's kind of like half good. Not good enough. On Sarah's Wings, 4 mana, enchant creature. Enchanted creature is legendary. It's +1/+1 and has flying, vigilance, and lifelink. Pretty strong enchantment. Spirit Mantle, pretty insane. Gives 1/1 and protection from creatures. That means they're basically unblockable. Pretty nuts. And then Unquestioned Authority is the same thing. Protection from creatures, and it replaces itself when you play it. So that's pretty nice. Draws a card. Ancient Den is just the artifact land. Axgard Armory. This one's pretty good. It's just a standard basic land, basic white land. But later on, you can actually search your library for an aura card or an equipment card, reveal both of them, put them into your hand, shuffle your library. So it's a tutor land for 29 cents. Pretty solid. It does come into play tapped, but the deck runs pretty low on mana curve. Like a lot of them are 1 or 2. Some of them are 3, and a little bit are 5 and 6. I think 1 or 2. So a tutor like this is not that big a deal for coming to play. Or land like this coming to play taps is not that big a deal for a tutor. Boros Garrison is just land. Buried Ruin is just return any other artifacts that might get destroyed to come back. Command Tower is just land. Darkstone Citadel. These artifact lands are for any of the things that say your power toughness is equal to X artifacts you have into play. These are just kind of free power toughness, like for talking about Bronze Guardian or whatever. And then last but not least, we've got Mountains. Myriad Landscape just for mana ramping. Plains. This is pretty good. Tron things that are unblockable, they do a lot of damage when they're double striking, so a little expensive for 4 mana, but still strong. Player Stronghold's pretty good as well. Give something Vigilance and Haste and 2/0 for just 2 mana and a tap. That's very strong. Especially when you're double striking, that's 4 extra damage. Could be even 4 extra life if you're life linking. Pretty strong. Scryland. This one, I could say you could take it out if you don't want for the Scry, but Scrying is fairly powerful, so early on wouldn't be too terrible. And that's it. And these are all the tokens that it would have, and that's the really end of it, really. I try to keep the mana curve in here, and I try to keep the land count fairly low. The land's only at 31. No, that's not right. What happened? The land should be 33. Oh, I see what I did. There we go. Yeah, 33 lands. That's what I was going to say. So the land should be at 33, and that should be plenty with the low mana curve like this. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this and like these deck techs, let me know. And oh, I forgot. Planeswalker. There is a Planeswalker. So I am running one Planeswalker, Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients. And it's pretty solid. 4 mana for 4 loyalty. You +1, you create a white core warrior creature token, and you may attach an equipment you control to it. That's pretty good when you have like a colossus hammer that costs 8 to equip. Oh, or you could just, cast her and make a 1/1, and now it's an 11/11 for 4 mana. Pretty strong. You can also -2, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a warrior or equipment card from among them and put that in your hand, but the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. There are a decent number of warriors, so with the 19 equipments or 18 equipment, something like that, and enough warriors. There's probably a fourth of the deck as, or maybe we'll say at least a fifth of the deck as warriors or equipments. We'll say, yeah, maybe I'll say fourth of the deck is warrior equipments. So she should hit quite often. And then there's the -3, deals damage to a target creature or player, a planeswalker, equal to twice the number of equipment you control. So it could be decent removal. So I think she's a really strong addition to this deck. And that's all I have for you guys. If you liked everything, please comment down below. If you have any like suggestions or whatever, I'm open to them. I'm right under budget, which is awesome for the $100 Commander challenge for EDH. I'm going to be doing a recording of the videos, and I'll post them on the channel as well, of the actual gameplay of how we do. And hopefully this does really, really well. So thanks for sharing your time with me, and hope to see you guys next time.